Flagstaff is one of those places that looks easy until you try to plan it. On a map, downtown seems tight, the big sites look close enough, and the trip can fool you into thinking 4 packed days will sort out. Then the elevation kicks in, the driving adds up, and the version of Flagstaff you pictured starts slipping. The smarter route keeps day 1 close to downtown, and Lowell after dark. Gives Walnut Canyon the room it deserves, saves the west side for a higher and more open day, and finishes with volcanic country without turning the last stretch into work. If it's your first visit, keep it simple. The downtown train station area gives you the most atmosphere on foot, while the Milton to University side makes driving days feel easier. A car is still the easiest move here, and walking works best in short pockets, not across the whole town. Stay for a secret tip at the end, because that changes this trip more than people expect. Day 1. Downtown, Route 66, and Lowell after dark. Start outside before breakfast. That sounds small, but it matters on the first morning. Walk the blocks around the visitor center and the old train station while downtown still feels half awake. Hear a train roll through. Get your bearings on Route 66. Let the town show its shape before you start chasing stops. This also saves you from making the classic first-timer mistake here, which is assuming all of Flagstaff behaves like one compact downtown once you've parked the car. The visitor center sits right in the historic train station, so this is the easiest place to sort out the town's spine early. If you're driving in later in the day, downtown parking is handled through the Park Flag pay-by-plate system, so it helps to snap a photo of your plate before you wander off. That sounds minor until you're standing at a kiosk trying to remember it from memory. Once you've done that short orientation loop, go to Mardan's. It's right on Route 66. It feels local from the first minute, and it gives day 1 a better start than a hotel breakfast that could belong to any city in the country. Get something that actually carries you. Day 1 is light on mileage, but it isn't light on moving around. Late morning is the right slot for Reardon Mansion. The stop works best here because it gives the trip a bit of structure before the bigger outdoor days start taking over. Tours are guided, they run at set times, and showing up without thinking about that can leave a dumb gap in the middle of your day. Reserve ahead if you can, show up early enough to grab your ticket, and treat it like a real stop instead of a quick peek. The house itself is a much better entry point into Old Flagstaff than a random history dump. It ties straight into the lumber years, and it changes the texture of the trip before canyons, lava, and mountain views start dominating everything. After that, keep the middle of the day loose. Walk through Heritage Square, past the old storefronts, drift through a couple of South Side blocks, and don't force the whole downtown into one heroic sweep. If you want one simple souvenir or a map for the next few days, this is the time to grab it. If you want one more low-effort piece of texture, use Route 66 itself. Stand there for a minute and watch how fast Flagstaff swings from old rail town to college town to road trip stop, depending on who's passing by. Then get back to your room for a breather instead of squeezing in another ticketed stop. That reset matters because low lands much better when you show up with energy instead of trying to drag yourself uphill after a full day on foot. Flagstaff is better when the first day feels like arrival, not conquest. You're not trying to win downtown by 2 in the afternoon. You're trying to understand it well enough that the rest of the trip starts feeling easy. That's also why dinner should stay close tonight. Beaver Street Brewery fits because it keeps you near the historic core. It's an easy walk or short drive depending on where you parked, and it sets up the night section without making you relocate across town for no reason. A heavier first night never plays that well here. Something relaxed, central, and easy is enough. Then give the second half of the night to Lowell Observatory, and don't treat it like a last-hour add-on. This is one of the places that gives Flagstaff its own identity. Pluto was discovered here in 1930, and the visit still feels like an actual evening out rather than a photo stop with a gift shop attached. General public hours usually run from noon to 10 at night, it's closed on Tuesdays, and on-site ticket sales end at 9, which means the rushed version of Low is usually the wrong version. Go early enough to settle in. Let the talks, exhibits, and telescope time carry the night instead of racing the clock. If your day 1 lands on a Tuesday, keep the downtown route exactly where it is and slide Lowell to the evening of day 3 or day 4. That change is easy because downtown can stand on its own. Lowell can too. There's no need to blow up the whole itinerary over one closure. When you leave Lowell, Flagstaff should finally feel real. Not just pretty, not just convenient, real enough that the next 3 days make more sense than they would have that morning. Day 2. Walnut Canyon and an easier east side reset. Eat first today. This is not the morning for coffee and optimism. Go to Brandy's, get a proper breakfast, fill your water, and let Walnut Canyon be the thing the day revolves around. It's close enough to town that people underestimate it, which is exactly why this day needs some discipline. Walnut Canyon deserves the full morning. The monument is generally open from 9 to 5, and the island trail is the main call if your legs and lungs are up for it. On paper, it sounds manageable at about a mile round trip. In real life, it drops 185 feet into the canyon and makes you climb back out on 240 steps. That's the part people remember. The other part they remember is how much is packed into that short trail, with cliff-dwelling rooms tucked into the rock in a way that feels much bigger than the mileage suggests. Go early and give yourself time. Don't show up late, rush the descent, and then act surprised when the climb out feels harder at altitude than it looked on your phone. Give yourself roughly an hour for the island trail, and a little more if you know you'll stop often. Walnut Canyon is satisfying when you treat it as the main event. It gets annoying when you treat it like a quick scenic detour. If the island trail sounds like more than you want, that's fine too. The rim views are still worth doing, and they keep the stop meaningful without turning it into a grind. Once you're back at the rim, this is the moment to stop stacking effort. Don't add another serious hike just because the day still has space. Shift softer on purpose and head toward Picture Canyon for the second half. It stays open year-round. The terrain is much easier, and the preserve gives you a nice change of pace after the stairs and steep return at Walnut. You still get geology, wildlife, petroglyphs, and Flagstaff's only year-round waterfall, but the day stops feeling like a test. That's exactly what you want after a morning where the stairs do most of the talking. Take Picture Canyon at a slower pace than you think you need. This is a reset, not a second headline stop. You're using it to keep the day interesting while letting your legs calm down. That's different from filling time, and it usually makes the whole trip feel more intentional. Dinner should stay on the east side tonight. Fat Olives makes sense because it saves a pointless swing back into downtown and gives the trip a different finish from the first evening. That helps more than people think. 4-day itineraries start feeling repetitive fast when every good day somehow ends in the same few downtown blocks. Here, the route stays cleaner and the night feels easier. If you got into town tired, slept badly, or the elevation is already getting loud, this is the easiest day to swap with Day 4. Sunset Crater asks less of your legs than Walnut Canyon does, so moving the Volcanic day forward can save the whole trip without making it feel compromised. End this night early. No extra stop just because you still have daylight. Walnut Canyon already gave the day its weight. The quieter finish is what keeps the trip balanced. Day 3. Peaks, Pines, and the West Side. Day 3 should feel more open from the start. Go to Tourist Home for breakfast and let the morning slow down a little before you head west. By now, there's no need to prove anything with a rush start. This is the higher, wider day. It lands better when you treat it that way. Buffalo Park is the right first move because it wakes the day up without eating it alive. The loop is 2.2 miles, the peaks sit right in front of you, and you can do as much or as little of it as feels good. There's no reason to turn this into a workout unless that's actually what you want. A steady pass through Buffalo Park gives you the views, the dry air, and the sense of space that downtown never will. Even a shorter walk works here because the point is not mileage. The point is opening the day up. From there, let Arizona Snow Bowl be the middle of the day, only if the scenic gondola is actually running on your dates. When it is, this is the cleanest big payoff on the west side. The ride tops out around 11,500 feet, the views open up fast, and the whole thing feels very different from Day 2's canyon walls. Bring water, take the altitude seriously, and leave room in the afternoon for the fact that even an easy mountain stop can still drain you a little. But this only works when operations line up cleanly. Snow Bowl is seasonal. Weather can mess with the plan. A day built around a gondola that is not running is just a day built wrong. So keep the backup simple. If the scenic ride isn't available, don't start inventing a whole replacement itinerary. Give the Museum of Northern Arizona the center of the day instead. It's a real stop, not a consolation prize. The campus covers 200 acres, and it does a much better job than most quick regional museums of grounding you in the Colorado Plateau, native cultures, and the landscape you've been moving through since Day 1. In practice, that swap makes the West Side day feel smarter, not smaller. If Snowbowl is operating and you do ride up, don't stack another demanding outdoor push right after it. That's how a good day gets overcooked. Between Buffalo Park, the drive, the altitude, and the gondola, you've already got enough in the middle of the trip. This is why the museum works well here, even when Snowbowl is open. It changes the pace without feeling like filler. It also keeps the day from becoming one long look at the same kind of scenery. Dinner should be calmer tonight. Josephine's fits the job because it feels like a proper sit-down finish without dragging you into a loud, late version of downtown. By day 3, that usually hits better than Somewhere Frantic. You've already had the arrival night. You've already had the canyon day. The trip doesn't need another hard swing. If one less walking heavy day sounds better, trim Buffalo Park to a shorter pass and let the museum carry more of the afternoon. Flagstaff gives you enough texture that a lighter west side day still feels full. It usually makes day 4 better. By the end of this one, Flagstaff should stop feeling like a town with a few nearby attractions and start feeling like a place with real layers. That's the point where the trip usually clicks. Day 4. Volcanic landscapes and a smoother final night. Keep the last morning easy. Macy's is a good final breakfast because it opens the day without making a big fuss about itself. By now, convenience matters more than novelty, and that's exactly how the last day should feel. You want enough energy for one more strong stop, not one more oversized plan. Sunset Crater is the anchor today, and it's a very good final day choice because it still feels dramatic without asking for the same kind of effort Walnut Canyon did. The visitor center is generally open from 9 to 4:30, and the lava flow trail is a 1-mile loop that gives you a lot for a pretty reasonable ask. The upper quarter mile is accessible too, which tells you a lot about the pace of this stop. It's built for people to actually take it in, not just power through it. Walk it slowly. Let the black lava, cinders, and open shape of the land do the work. Flagstaff has already given you old town blocks, cliff dwellings, pines, and mountain views. This is the day that changes the visual language one more time before you leave. That's why it belongs here. It feels substantial, but it doesn't demand that you empty the tank to enjoy it. On a 4-day trip, that matters. A last day that still feels interesting without turning into labor is harder to build than people think. If the monument opens awkwardly with your schedule or weather is making the longer scenic idea feel messy, do not force the long version just because it sounds bigger. The compact Sunset Crater visit still works. In a lot of cases, it works better. One clean monument visit and a good final evening is stronger than cramming in extra miles for the sake of saying you did. This is also the safest day to keep intentionally short if the trip has already turned more active than expected. Back in town, use the afternoon for one last downtown pass. This is where you pick up the coffee, gift, or small stop you kept skipping. Walk a few blocks, sit for a minute in the old core and actually notice that it feels familiar now. If you stayed on the west side, this is a good time to come back in and give downtown one final clean loop before dinner instead of bouncing in and out later. A final downtown drift works better than squeezing in one more headline attraction just because the trip is almost over. That urge usually makes the last day worse, not better. For dinner, go to Pizzicletta. It gives the last night a local finish, it stays close to downtown without dropping you back into the busiest stretch, and it feels focused enough for a final meal that doesn't turn into a production. It also happens to be useful on other nights if you need a backup, which is exactly the kind of place that deserves a slot in a 4-day route like this. After dinner, take one last easy walk and leave it there. No forced encore, no extra stop, because ending on time suddenly feels too simple. The best version of Flagstaff usually gets quieter at the end. Let it. That quiet finish is part of what stays with you. The smoothest time to do this trip is usually late May through June or early fall before winter operations start reshaping the town. That's the window where walking feels better, roads are simpler, and the whole itinerary has a better chance of lining up without weather or seasonal closures messing with it. Midsummer is still doable, but afternoon storms can start crowding the day. Deep winter can be great for the right trip, just not always for this exact one. The bigger point is that Flagstaff changes fast with the season. Snowbowl operations shift. Low has its own weekly closure. National Park Service hours stay stable enough to plan around, but they still deserve a final check before you go. When you start booking, check the low day. Confirm Snowbowl before you build day 3 around it, and keep your heaviest walking away from your first afternoon in town. Pick a window when the town is easy to move through, and the same 4 days feel lighter from the first morning.